Hello and welcome to the September episode of NCIA Today. I'm your host, Bethany Moore, NCIA's Communications Manager. This month we're bringing you important updates on the MORE Act and more. But first, for NCIA members looking to step up their involvement with their National Trade Association, this year's Board of Directors nomination and election process wraps up this week on September 30th. So submit your applications now if you want to help contribute to the organization financially, build membership, and serve as volunteer leaders for the organization. Head to our website for more information. Here at the National Cannabis Industry Association, we're all still socially distancing and staying safe, and continuing to provide you digital online opportunities to stay informed, inspired, and connected to the cannabis industry and your peers. Our back to school vibes are strong with our Industry Essentials webinar series, bringing you new educational opportunities every single week from industry experts. These webinars are complimentary for current NCIA members. Check the schedule on our website and register your team today. These virtual events offer unique marketing opportunities for companies looking to put their brand in front of the cannabis industry's most influential community. Sponsorship packages start as low as $700. If your company's interested, reach out to our business development team today. Also, NCIA's membership manager, Tahir Johnson, has been diving into conversations every week on Facebook Live, hosting cannabis industry operators, advocates, and allies to discuss issues related to social equity in the cannabis industry. Check out the show on NCIA's Facebook page every Wednesday around 11 a.m. Eastern, or head to our website to access previous episodes of the Cannabis Diversity Report with Tahir Johnson. Additionally, we're thrilled to announce that entrepreneur, author, and presidential candidate Andrew Yang will be speaking as a keynote speaker at our upcoming Cannabis Business Summit Cyber event happening on November 10th through 12th. Registration is complimentary for all current NCIA members, and early bird pricing is still available for non-members. And if you're not a member, now's a great time to sign your company up to be a part of the most powerful and effective cannabis trade association. For more information about the Cannabis Summit, head to www.cannabisbusinesssummit.com. Now let's check in with the Deputy Director of Government Relations, Michelle Rutter Friberg, for an update on what's happening in Washington, D.C. Hey, Michelle, thanks for joining me today for an update from the Beltway. I know you're not actually in the halls of Congress right now because of COVID-19 safety precautions, but you're still certainly calling their offices and having Zoom meetings. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right, Bethany. I know it's been such a weird time. The halls of Congress are still not open to the general public yet, which is what a mere lobbyist like myself would be considered. Some offices have some staff and press and whatnot, but we are still hard at work here lobbying at home. There have been more Zoom calls, more phone calls, and more emails to the Hill in the last however many 6 months it's been now than I care to admit. But I'm happy to report that those have been going really, really well. I've been so encouraged by the way that we've been received, especially lately. When COVID first hit, just like everybody, back in March and April, everybody in Congress was trying to get a handle on things and figure out which side was up. And, it was difficult, to lobby then and get a piece of people's time and attention. But, we and other advocates in this space have been really, really doing a great job at making the case about how cannabis is essential, how cannabis policy and its reform actually is COVID related, and then just broadly, of course, still talking about the issues. So it was difficult at first, but it's getting easier. I think just like everyone, we're getting in the swing of things, but yeah, no shortage of Zoom calls and lobbying meetings for sure.
Great. Well, thank you for all your hard work on all of our issues during these strange times. Let's get into what's new for cannabis reform.
Yeah, so the newest thing that we have to talk about, of course, is about the MORE Act. You guys have probably heard of it. It's the Marijuana Opportunity Reinvestment and Expungement Act. Like I said, the MORE Act. You guys might remember that's the bill that's sponsored by House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jerry Nadler in the House and by Vice Presidential nominee Kamala Harris over in the Senate. And so that bill is fantastic. It actually removes cannabis from the Controlled Substances Act. And then the bill really seeks to address some of the harms that the war on drugs has done to communities of color. And so again, you get that from the name, right? There's provisions for resentencing, for expungement, for various opportunity trust funds, as they call them. So we were really, really excited about the MORE Act and had been lobbying hard on it. And we were hoping it was going to come for a vote here sometime in September. But, you know, everything in DC is always changing, always in flux. And this was no exception, where House leadership decided that, you know what, this actually, we're just going to move the schedule a little bit and actually have this vote sometime later in the fall. And so, you know, again, not terribly shocking by any means. You know, we have pandemic still going on and Congress is still dealing with relief legislation. I think we're going to talk about that here in a minute. You know, now we have a Supreme Court nominee that's kind of sucking a lot of air out of the room, at least in the Senate chamber, especially. So, you know, we're just excited to have more time to get more co-sponsors, more support for the MORE Act, continue talking to offices about it. So while it may be delayed, still a lot of really great things to come for the bill. And you guys can definitely stay tuned for a vote on that by the end of the year.
Great. Yeah, thanks for the update on that for sure. Is there anything that NCIA members and advocates for this can do in the meantime?
Yeah, I mean, so first off, you know, we're always stressing the importance of being active in the political process. So as always, make sure that you are engaging with your congressperson, with your senator at the federal level, but also make sure that you're remembering to get in touch at the local and state level too. And of course, you know, I think I'd be remiss without mentioning we're getting really close to election time. I think we're somewhere around 40 days as we're filming this today. I know, isn't it crazy that it's just around the corner? So the one thing I want to make sure all NCIA members and everyone in their networks does is make sure you're registered to vote. That's the biggest thing. Make sure you're registered to vote. And once you figure that out, make your voting plan, because we are living in a pandemic. Every state has different rules about how you can vote. We want to make sure people do it safely and as easy as possible. So make sure you have a voting plan. There's a ton of great resources out there on this. If you are involved in the cannabis industry and have a business, I would encourage you to check out sparkthevote.org. That's a really great resource. I also encourage people to go to cannabisvoter.info. That can tell you how various members of Congress are voting. And then just broadly on how to get involved, I think a really great resource, if you guys want to go to votesaveamerica.com, they'll tell you if you're registered, how to get registered, all that good stuff. So as always, just remain politically engaged. It's hard from home sometimes, but it's so important to remember to stay vigilant.
Those are really good resources. Thanks for sharing those. And it's super important. And I'm also really happy that Colorado already has a robust mail-in ballot system for voting. So
yeah, Colorado is really at the vanguard of that. You guys are ahead of the game, I think.
Totally. Speaking of votes, the Safe Banking Act passed through the House of Representatives a year ago, almost exactly to this day. So what's next for this bill, as well as other cannabis legislation like the HEROES Act?
Yeah, so the Safe Banking Act has a couple of different tracks ahead of it right now. So there's the standalone Safe Banking Act, right? The bill itself, which, like you said, passed out of the House just about a year ago now. That has just remained in the Senate waiting for a vote. So it had a hearing last year, but we're still waiting and hopeful that maybe at some point the Senate Banking Committee Chairman Mike Crapo of Idaho might hold a markup on the vote. You'll remember that's when people actually talk about the vote and they can amend it and change different things. So we're still working with Senator Crapo and his team and always trying to move the ball forward with them and that avenue. We also then, like you said, have the pandemic relief legislation, which has also opened the door to passing states. So like I mentioned at the beginning of this, you know, we were very lucky that, you know, banking has always been a public safety issue, and now it's really morphed into a public health issue. And by lobbying and talking to offices about this, we were able to make the case, and successfully so, that the Safe Banking Act is germane to COVID relief legislation. It's not safe or healthy to be passing dirty cash back and forth. You could have an immunocompromised patient, and then you have banknotes circulating from consumer to business to bank to hopefully a bank, right? To all around. And it's no brainer why that's just not smart policy right now. And that also then doesn't allow you to click, like order online. We're all getting so used to curbside delivery and stuff. How do you do that if you're not accepting a debit or a credit card? You're forced to use that cash and being close less than 6 feet, I would think, unless you have really long arms. So we were able to make this argument about why safe banking was germane to COVID legislation. So back in June, when the HEROES Act was unveiled by House Democrats and subsequently passed, the entirety of the Safe Banking Act was included in there. So we've been working with the Senate, trying to get the HEROES Act passed there, because that would allow a pathway for SAFE. Unfortunately, those talks are stalled right now. But as of filming this today, there's now new talks about the possibility of another different new COVID package, since the HEROES Act is sort of stalled out. And so that's very much new information that we're still unpacking. And, that's going to have to do with deals that the White House can make with House and Senate leadership. And so we're still seeing how that's going to shake out. But I can tell you right now, back to being lobbying and hard at work, a lot of phone calls, a lot of emails talking about safe banking and this next relief package. So we're keeping our fingers crossed. We're exploring any and every avenue to get it done.
Well, there's a lot going on there, as always in DC, right?
Of course, of course.
Well, thank you so much for that update, Michelle. And we can't wait to get back to DC next year for lobby days, so that our members can continue to underscore the efforts you guys are continuing to make year round for us. Once it's safe to do so, we're gonna have another lobby days.
That's right. No, I'm excited for the day when we can have our members back in town and see all of them and be back in the halls of Congress. And in the meantime, I hope all of our NCIA members remember that we're here working on your behalf every day. If you need something, you have a question, you have a compelling story you want to share about something that's happened, drop us an email on our website. If you know my email, you can find me. But you can just email our website and we'll get in touch. But want to hear from you guys always.
Absolutely. Thanks again, Michelle. We'll check in with you next time.
Bye, Bethany.
Bye. Hey there, Tahir. Isn't it fun doing this live? We're actually broadcasting live right now from Denver to DC to everybody on the internet. How cool is that?
It is. This is dope. Bethany, what's going on with you?
Oh, just hanging out in Denver. We're still quarantining for the most part, but we're still definitely busy, much like you. As I mentioned earlier, you've been hosting the Cannabis Diversity Report every week on Facebook Live. Tell us what's going on with the podcast.
Yeah, I've definitely been loving doing that. Like you said, we shoot the show and broadcast it live on Facebook, and also release the podcast every week. So it's been really incredible. We've had some great guests on there. I'm really excited. On October 16th, I'll be interviewing CJ Wallace, the Notorious B.I.G.'s son, about his cannabis company. So it's been pretty cool to have a lot of different people on there.
No kidding. That's really cool news. Thanks for sharing. We'll definitely tune into that. Tahir, you also oversee NCIA's Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee. Can you give us any updates about what's going on with the committee?
I do. Well, there's been some exciting stuff with the committee. As of right now, we have over 100 participants from around the country, both social equity operators as well as applicants. And just recently, we launched our Opportunity Fund and got our first contributors. And that Opportunity Fund is going to support our social equity scholarship program and the social equity operators that we have here in the program. So really would be excited to have you contribute to that if you are looking to support the work that we're doing in the social equity community. And also, just recently, we actually endorsed CanInclusive's The Accountability List. And one of the goals of that is to be able to help increase and support diversity and inclusion across the cannabis industry. And we would love for our members to be able to support that so that we can have metrics and talk about how we can improve inclusivity in cannabis.
That's really great. I'm happy that NCIA is participating, and I hope other NCIA members will participate as well. I mentioned the board of directors election earlier. I think you have some news to share about scholarship recipients being eligible.
Yes, and I think it's really important. All social equity scholarship members, all members of any type of the organization are eligible to serve on NCIA's board of directors. You have to act fast. There's not a lot of time left. You have until September 30th to apply. But one of my biggest goals is to actually increase diversity, not only here in our membership at the organization, but also on our board of directors. So for any of our social equity scholarship programs, participants out there, please apply for the board of directors. Hit me up directly if you have any questions. It's a great opportunity to be able to serve and be able to help direct the nation's largest cannabis trade association. So we definitely need your voice and we need your support.
Absolutely. Thank you, Tahir. I appreciate the update on everything going on in your world out there in DC and with the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee. And a reminder for those who are interested in serving on NCIA's board of directors, again, the deadline is September 30th. That is Wednesday, September 30th. And if you're watching this live, that's 2 days from today. And you must be a fiduciary of the company, like the CEO or the president or the partner. So get your applications in now. And thank you again, Tahir, for joining me today.
Of course, always fun, Bethany. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, Tahir.
Bye.
Before we wrap up this episode, here's a few reminders. In order to protect the health of our community, NCIA's national and regional events will not be taking place until 2021. In the meantime, make sure you're subscribed to our email list, listening to NCIA's weekly podcasts hosted by myself and Tahir Johnson, and make sure you're registered for our Industry Essentials webinar series, as well as our Cannabis Business Cyber Summit. In the meantime, our full-time government relations team in DC is pressing on with our cannabis policy reform, efforts in Congress, ending federal marijuana prohibition, and opening opportunities for the legal industry. The unexpected disruption to our 2020 events program that I mentioned earlier has serious financial impact on NCIA's operations. Please make sure that your cannabis business is a member of NCIA or consider making a donation to NCIA during this difficult time. If you're not following our social media channels on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube, check out all the great content and inspiration we're sharing. If you're a member of NCIA, we encourage you to check out your new member benefit, NCIA Connect, and dive right into the conversation today. We'll see you next month.